My name is Ryan Sprague. When I was 12 years old, my father and I stared up into the night skies, and we saw something extraordinary staring back. And whatever it was sent me on a search to find answers to the UFO phenomenon and beyond. And that search continues somewhere in the skies. Coming to you from SpectreVision Radio, the Somewhere in the Skies podcast features conversations, interviews, and roundtable discussions with scientists, scholars, historians, pop culture figures, and prominent UFO researchers. We also hear directly from you, the listeners, about your personal UFO sightings and encounters. Lastly, we bring you fascinating and engaging case histories. Each week is something different and truly unique. Somewhere in the Skies doesn't seek to just entertain. We seek the truth. We bring new questions and theories to the table. We bring new voices to the discussion. And we attempt to possibly find some answers to those mysteries that lay somewhere in the skies. New episodes are every Monday through SpectreVision Radio on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
No one goes to Hank's for his spreadsheets. They go for a darn good pizza. Lately, though, the shop's been quiet, so Hank decides to bring back the $1 slice. He asks Copilot in Microsoft Excel to look at his sales and costs and help him see if he can afford it. Copilot shows Hank where the money's going and which little extras make the dollar slice work. Now Hank has a line out the door. Hank makes the pizza, Copilot handles the spreadsheets. Learn more at m365copilot.com/work.
Brought to you by
SpectreVision Radio.
Telemetry and launch condition.
Well, some other observers.
Hey, it's late night.
It's late night on the astral plane, where it's never too late. With your host, Ryan Singer.
It's more fun to believe.
Welcome to another voyage of Late Night on the Astral Plane. This is your buddy Ryan Singer. I'm thrilled to be here with you on this morning, this afternoon, this evening, this late in the night time. Maybe that's when you're listening. I feel like a brand new person. I had a haircut for the first time in quite a long time, so I feel like a whole new person. I don't know if you've ever let your hair grow for like 2 years, but then you get it all chopped off, and you're just like, oh my God, how did I do that before? How did I have long hair? Oh, that's right. I stopped caring and thinking about my hair, and that's how I did it. But I mean, it's not that I stopped caring. I tried to take care of my hair, but when something becomes too high maintenance, like in such a way that, usually I try to, I'll try to, like when it comes to like a healthcare routine or something, I try to, literally cut ties with it. So there's all kinds of things going on in the paranormal world, as I'm sure you're aware. I took a nice little vacation for about a month or so. It was very relaxing. I had a pleasant time. I was actually going to try to do some episodes and some voyages for you, but due to my, where I was and like my surroundings at times, I just couldn't get an episode recorded without, noise and all kinds of things. But that's neither here nor there. I'm glad to be back. The show will go on and it continues to go on. And there's so much going on in the paranormal world, in the world of disclosure. I know that there was recently some more hearings, or not hearings, but I mean, Dr. Stephen Greer had another press conference. There's more whistleblowers. There's more things. The president is keeps talking about extraterrestrial things, as it's which to me is, don't put your eggs in the basket of the current administration giving you information that is, groundbreaking or new, in any way, shape, or form. To me, they are trying to distract from other things that are, currently happening. The shit show that is everything that is the U.S. government at this time. And aliens and UFOs are a great way to try to change the story into something else. Now, that's not to say that there might not be some new things that do come out. That would be, any way we can get disclosure is probably, I shouldn't say anyway, but almost any way we can get disclosure and new information, we'll take it over here. We've been beating the disclosure drum for years and years. This is a fundamental human rights issue. If we are not alone in the universe, if we're not alone on this planet, the gatekeepers need to go away. We're no longer buying their BS about, humanity can't handle it. We don't buy that BS, because those people who are telling you that are part of humanity, but I guess they deem themselves better than, or more sophisticated, or more capable than the rest of us, because they seem to be able to handle it, right? At least on the surface of things. There are people out there telling you, like the Vice President J.D. Vance will tell you that aliens are demons. There are other people telling you that aliens are angels. You know what? People can believe whatever they want. I'm not going to try to tell people what to believe, but I will tell you this: I do not believe either of those things. I don't think that the Bible has anything to do with this. The Bible is absolutely no way relevant to disclosure, in my opinion. And we live in a Christian fascist, that's where we're headed in the United States anyway. So they're going to try to frame things like that. There are people out there with big microphones trying to tell you about Jesus and God and things like that, when in relations to the aliens and things like that and UFOs. We're not buying that over here. We're not talking about that over here necessarily. That's not to say that there aren't stories that intertwine with those two subjects, because quite frankly, they very could. And listen, I don't know everything. And in fact, I probably don't know anything when it comes to all of this. I don't have privileged information. I don't have information that you have to have high security clearance for, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that the aliens are angels. Okay. And I don't think that they're demons either. That's not to say that religion doesn't intertwine into this mix at some point for many, many, many people. And time will certainly tell. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. Maybe none of us are correct, and maybe none of us are incorrect. So the truth is probably somewhere in the middle that we could never even imagine. I mean, the interdimensional aspect has been hinted at and even discussed to a certain degree when it comes to the nature of extraterrestrials and these craft. It's a bonkers time to be alive, right? And if nothing else, we can embrace that aspect of what is going on around us right now. And we can try to lean into the hope. We can try to lean into the taking care of one another and trying to maintain a positive outlook in the face of adversity and societal change that I think most of us with a level head would describe as negative, as going the wrong direction. When we are removing the protections of the earth and the environment, we are removing the protections of, chemicals being in the food. We're opening up, protected wildlife areas for all kinds of crazy action that will be destroyed. You hope cooler heads and, more peaceful people and more loving creatures prevail at some point. We can't rely on the aliens to save us. We can't put our hopeful eggs in someone else's basket. We have to get through this ourselves, and I do believe we will, because there's billions of us, and we're all pretty chill dudes. The billions and billions of us out there who aren't these psychopaths that want to try to run everything in the world. We don't need more than we need, and eventually that will prevail. That we have to just keep reminding ourselves that we're all pretty cool, and we can be turned against one another through messaging and through the hyper consumption of propaganda. It happens to the best of us. And when a handful of people are controlling the narrative on either side, it's basically, there's a handful of people having an argument, and through the media and through other ways. But what can we know then? Well, what we can know is we can know our experience. We can know what we feel. And we can know also, to some degree, what we think, as long as we're not consuming a bunch of things that will alter that in a way that we no longer realize we don't have control over it. I was around a bunch of like younger people recently, and one of the striking things that really stood out to me was how much they talked about and relied upon AI. And I found this very disturbing. They didn't seem to offer opinions on things, outside of saying, well, Claude, well, Gemini, well, Chat told me blah, 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 blah. And then, oh, let's ask Chat, or let's ask, blah, 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 blah. They're so reliant on it, and they're using it so much. And it's not just young people, it's older people too, that. And I think a lot of people are just kind of blindly going into this AI night, and they don't realize like the back end of it, and the implications that it has on the environment and data centers and things like that. Death to data centers. I'm very pro. I'm pro destroy data centers. Don't let them get a foothold in your community. Things like that. Data centers, no need for them. And so, yeah, but it's like so many people are just like so wrapped up in AI, and that's all people are talking about. And I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of just boring to me to a certain degree, to be around a bunch of people who just want to have Chat GPT or AI have conversations with other AI that are being held by humans. It's kind of silly. I saw something crazy the other day. I got to tell you about this because it's really funny. But if you're too busy staring at your phone, you miss some of this stuff. So I'm at this place that had this like fish tank, and right, and there's this fish tank, and then there's a guy singing to the fish, and this is like a public situation, right? And there's this young guy singing to the fish in the fish tank, and what made it so funny was the fact that this isn't somebody you'd be like, you know what, I want to hear this guy sing. I mean, and trust me, as my last name is Singer, I'm not over here telling you I got golden pipes when it comes to singing songs. But I will tell you this, I can sing better than this guy. And like his singing voice was such a particular flavor of not enjoyable that I couldn't even understand the words he was singing. And it makes me wonder if the fish could. And I didn't want to stand and stare too long. But I imagine the fish were in the tank looking at this guy like, bro, like what? Like kind of cocking their heads. If a fish could cock its head, even though it's attached to its body and doesn't really have a neck. I think, do you have to have a neck to be able to cock your head? You probably do. Fish probably have a neck. You just can't tell it because it's kind of I'm sure there's a neck bone. I've seen a fish skeleton before, which is a really creepy thing to say. Do you ever just kind of like hear something on the radio and you're just like, this is the creepiest thing? How does that person saying it not realize it? I was driving in my car. I don't know when it was, in the last week. And it was satellite radio, and the DJ was saying that Los Angeles, I think 1, 2, 3 in the rankings of consuming hot dogs. Los Angeles number 1. I think it was New York City number 2 and Chicago number 3. Those are the top 3. They ate the most hot dogs of anybody last year, or eat the most hot dogs of sausage or whatever. And she said, I don't know if that should be something we're proud of or not here, if your city's on that list and you live in that city. And I was like, well, how was there a debate? No, That the answer is a definitive no. And then she gave the number, then it was like millions and millions and millions and millions of hot dogs. And all I could think of in that moment was, this is absolutely disgusting. The Not only is it the cheapest of all meats, probably the dirtiest of all meats to be eating because of the way it's manufactured and things like that, but when you're thinking about the animals involved and just and and I know you don't come, I've never really gone on some like vegan rant over here on this show, but I mean, you think about like the millions and millions and millions and millions of hot dogs that were eaten, and the millions and millions and millions of animals that were slaughtered for those hot dogs. Um, and it's just like, oh my God, I just had this really come to God moment where I was just like, I'm looking Odin in the eyes and I'm thinking to myself, how many 7-Eleven hot dogs? Because they do the combo meal. See, they do the combo where you get the big gulp and you get the hot dog, or they do the 2 pizza slices and the big gulp combo meal. It's like $2.99. And then this economy, you got to eat when you can. When you're, I'm a pretty basic guy. I think it's obvious to everyone who already knows me that I enjoy things that suck. And by suck, I mean, by most people's standards, people would say, oh, that's gross. That's not good. That's not high quality stuff. Right. And I enjoy, I just had a salad kind of thing that I made, earlier. I got it on the deep discount because it had the like must go now. I'm not trying to do my stand up act. If you've ever seen me do stand up, I do have a bit about how I love the yellow sticker at like a Kroger's or a Ralph's or a grocery store like that. But this was $1.02 for a salad, like a cooked kale salad thing that had tomatoes and some other stuff in it. So I recooked it at home, put some eggs in it, and it was pretty. It was okay. It was good, but it's like, it sucks probably, right? But I have a taste for things that suck. It's peculiar, I suppose. I'm talking about food and beverages, and things like that. I mean, I love. People will say Starbucks coffee isn't any good. It's like bad coffee, and I'm like, well, tell that to my mouth, because my mouth can't get enough of the iced coffee with the heavy whipping cream, half brown sugar, half vanilla, light ice, Trenta. But also, fuck Starbucks with their owner, right? It's like firing people. I shouldn't get into that because I'm not up to date on the latest, greatest about Starbucks and the labor disputes they have there with all the employees and things like that. But I'm very pro union. I'm very lefty. I'm very socialist, communist. I'm never going to take the side of the boss, the guy who's making all the money, or the gal who's making all the money. I'm never going to take their side. I'm always going to take the side of the person whose minimum wage has barely been raised over the years, for the last 50 years. But okay, moving on. I don't even remember what we were talking. We were talking about disclosure. There's all kinds of paranormal things happening. There was actually my good buddy Greg Nichols, who's been on the show, filmmaker friend of mine. He's been on the show a few times. He's a skeptic, but he's scientifically minded. He's hyper interested in UFOs and aliens and things like that. Back in my hometown, and he's had cracks in his skepticism. I love when a skeptic starts to show their cracks. Right? It's like your windshield. It starts to spider out in all different directions. But he sent me a photo today. He's like, "Oh, I tagged you in a photo on Facebook." I was like, "Bro, I'm never on Facebook." But I will go to Facebook to look at a Bigfoot photo. Now, I'm going to put that in here. And I'm going to give credit to the people who, let's talk about this for a second, okay, if we can. I should have done this in advance. I didn't know I was going to do this. So I guess I'm kind of on the fly here. And Nigel is actually not here tonight. Because, normally I'd have Nigel like hook me up with this. Now, what I want to do is here, I want to share my screen here. And so I'm going to do that here on the video. And we'll be able to see this. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at what I believe to be a Bigfoot photo. Okay, and this is from Jones AJ on Facebook. And I believe Nick Jones, her husband, they were together. Let's just read this. Let me read this for you. Okay, so I've been holding off on sharing this photo with the public. Oh boy, has it been hard for me not to until it was fully examined by a photography professional. However, as of about an hour ago, I got word that it was finished being examined and I got the okay from one of the professionals to share it. My husband and I have had 3 professional researchers, as well as a few extremely knowledgeable people that they know, look into the pictures that we took yesterday, and this one is by far the, quote, holy grail, end quote. All of the pics we took yesterday were in the presence of 3 researchers, all of which have several years of experience with these kinds of things, and all are unbelievably knowledgeable on this subject. Most of you will be fascinated by this picture, and I'm sure others will pick it apart and have 1,000 negative comments to make about it, and that's perfectly fine with me. You're entitled to having your own opinions and are free to pick it apart and pass judgment. It doesn't bother me, and Kay, don't take it personally. The 5 of us were snapping pictures of the area in which we heard the loud snapping sound. We would take 10 to 15 pics and then pause to look at each picture over, making sure to zoom in and study each one individually, one at a time. And yes, we all made sure to check the area for snapped twigs, pressed plants, footprints, etc. And what we found was pretty amazing. The spot where this creature was standing, walking, had a few pressed plants, broken vines, plants that were broken in half, and a few tree branches that appeared to be broken as well. Anyway, here it is for you. So now I'll bring up this photo and I'll just insert it in here. Probably is where I'll put it into the episode and you can look at it. This is why I'd recommend watching the podcast if at all possible. It's available on Spotify now. And in the future, it will be available other places. I'll post this photo as well, potentially with credit. Give credit where credit's due. I posted a photo of an alien autopsy over on the Patreon page from Dr. Greer that he sent out in a newsletter recently. And I'll post this photo over there as well. And, I'm sure this photo is going around everywhere right now. So, as you can see, now I've talked to a couple different people about this, and the opinions are varied, as you might imagine, right? I see what I believe to be a tall creature that resembles something of a Sasquatch right there in the middle. There's a dark figure. Is it real? Is it not real? I can't tell you that. Maybe we'll have a conversation with the people who took the photo. That would be great because these are my old stomping grounds. I used to go to Ceasar's Creek in Ohio. That's where this photo was taken. I forgot to mention that. This is like a place I would go to as a kid. This is like 25, 30 minutes away from where I grew up and where I'd run around as a kid and into my adult life even. And you bet your sweet tush, I'll be heading over there maybe sometime this summer. I'll be in the Midwest this summer doing some clubs, Cincinnati, I Go Bananas. I'll be some other places. You can check my website. And I'll be at the Haunted America conference hanging out because it's such a cool thing. And our buddy Matthew Jackson will be giving a presentation there. Friend of the show, incredible ITC paranormal researcher and investigator, Matthew Jackson. So anyway, so Caesar's Creek, this is where this photo was taken. Now, what's interesting, this is why this is cool to me, okay? And people have their opinions, and that's fine, like AJ said. Now, you hear a noise, it captures your attention, so then you go and move to the next step, which is trying to capture physical and or visual evidence. If you can get visual evidence of something physical, that's great, right? Because now you're hearing stuff. It doesn't sound like they were recording anything by any indication there. Now, what you can then see is that there is a creature there of some kind, it would appear. How tall is it? I don't know. Because what I was saying was there's varying opinions. I think it's kind of tall. I talked to someone else who was like, that looks very short to me. I don't know. I don't know the perspective here. I don't know the distance. It could be very short. It could be tiny. Or it could be, maybe it could be huge. I don't know. And then I talked to another person who's pretty skeptical about this kind of stuff. And they're like, it just kind of looks like a dark spot to me. So the opinions are all over the board. All of them are valid as well. I'm not looking for confirmation bias here. This is just a really kind of interesting situation that's unfolding here. But yeah, so let's take this photo down here. um, now. And but this is pretty cool. And so um, I love when something happens like in my old stomping grounds, because as you know, in the last couple months, there have been an incredible uptick in reports of Sasquatch sightings, Bigfoot sightings, Omaha sightings, whatever you, however you'd like to refer to the magical creature, the elusive beast. I'm sure that I say beast in an endearing way, by the way. I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's just a beast. It's, I'm not trying to imply that. So I know there's at least one Squatch listening. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you understanding that I'm not referring to that. Oh, by the way, I'm doing a live late night on the astral plane. I'll be doing that at the Cincinnati Go Bananas Comedy Club on August 9th. That's the Sunday night show. And there's going to be some cool stuff happening on that show. I just got to tell you now. So anyway, so yeah, but so that's pretty cool. Maybe like I said, maybe I will post that photo over there for the patrons. $3 a month gets you no commercials on. I got to tell you, if you're over there now, that's great, because the Patreon's made some big changes, and so they're pretty much telling you as creators that you need to have a $5 minimum for your patrons. It's not a forced situation. They're not forcing you to do $5 minimum. I do a $3 minimum. You could do $1. There's also free over there. Yeah, you obviously don't get access to everything at the free level or the dollar level. The dollar a month, I appreciate that. That's just like you putting some good. That's you putting good vibes out into the world, and I appreciate your good vibes. $3 is also putting good vibes out into the world. Helping me buy coffees, or getting my juice, right? Helping for gas for my travels, and things like that. So patreon.com/Ryan Singer. Go check it out. I appreciate everybody who's been a patron over there, whether you've been a new patron or whether you've been around for years. There are people who have been over there there's some OGs over there. And I got to tell you, like, wow, the support is amazing, and it's truly deeply appreciated. And as always, even though I don't always do it, but I got to shout out to, October Custom Publishing. They're one of the, the official, unofficial, but official sponsors of the show, Late Night on the Astral Plane. Also, Paranormal Corp. We wouldn't be able to keep the lights on if it wasn't for Paranormal Corp. So we truly, deeply appreciate Paranormal Corp as well. All your paranormal needs. I'm sure they got a website somewhere. I'm sure you can find it. But yeah, but anyway, let's do a quick break, and we're going to be right back after this quick break. Okay, we're back. So again, big shout out to my buddy Greg Nichols for, doing giving me the heads up, on the Bigfoot photo. It's Caesar's Creek, Ohio, which is a state park in Ohio. It's like you can go there, and it's got basically it's a gravel pit. Okay, if you're wondering, I think I've got this right. It's been years since I've been there. There was a time during the very beginning of the pandemic, when everyone was addicted to Zillow, that I was looking at property, and there was a house really close to Caesar's Creek that was for sale, and I live in Los Angeles, so in comparison to where I live, it was so affordable, and I was like, oh my God, if I would have ever made any money in my entire life, I would buy this house. Newsflash, I'm not a super wealthy person. I've never prioritized money in that way. But I will say this. If you're going to declare bankruptcy, do it now. Before they make it illegal, you should do it now. If you're thinking about, should I do bankruptcy? I'm here to tell you, yes, you should. There's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to declaring Chapter 7, or I think it's Chapter 7. Yeah, I want to do a documentary called Chapter 1111, the moral bankruptcy in the spiritual community. Don't steal my idea for a documentary, okay? chapter 1111, moral bankruptcy in the spiritual community. Oh, what's that Instagram account? The person who just, they just repost like all the crazy, like spiritualist garbage. People out there like just really like over the top being like super spiritual about stuff. Like posting videos of themselves like sobbing, and like the caption will be like cleansing the trauma from not being able to get my coffee hot enough today. And they're like on a yoga mat, crying. And they're like being serious. Although who knows? The line between satire and reality has blurred. And as someone who has worked in comedy for 25 years, I got to say it's not my favorite thing in the world when some of that becomes indiscernible probably. When you can't discern the difference between satire and reality, it is maybe one of the early death blows to comedy, because, I've had this conversation with people. They're like, the younger generation, they don't blah, blah, blah. They might not, they don't, you can't have this joke be this way anymore. And, things like that, or, they're more sensitive. And okay. I mean, people are more sensitive. I'm not going to get upset about people being more sensitive. And things like that. And hopefully we all grow, evolve, and change for the better. I think that's a cool idea. I think maybe we should all look into doing that the best we can. It's not always easy. What do I need to tell you? I've got a series of interviews lined up, because it's not happening yet, and I don't know the exact date. And unfortunately, we're not given the exact date, but we're keeping an eye on it, and I'll be doing Fitz Week, which will be basically Friends in the Sky Week. And if you're new to the show, you might be like, well, what is Friends in the Sky Week? What's Fitz Week? Fitz is the acronym for Friends in the Sky, the Investigation Mutilation Ranch, a documentary film that I edited, that I was a part of, the investigation. Greg Feynman and Mama Sue, Dan Lindholm and Ed Brown and myself. And that will be on Tubi. And so hopefully it'll be on Amazon Prime and some other places as well. Still waiting to hear on those things, but it'll be coming out on Tubi at some point here, hopefully in the next month or so. And when it is coming out, I'm going to have Greg on, I'll have Dan on, and I'll be bringing you an interview with Ed Brown. So all three of them, we got interviews ready for you to come out to celebrate the release of Fitz, where you can watch for free on Tubi. So there'll be commercials, but that's the way we decided to go with the release for that. And boy, oh boy, I'm excited for you to see it. It's an interesting story. And I think if you like and Greg's been on here a bunch, you know the story probably, if you've listened to this show. And I think the film, I did as good as I could do when it comes to condensing the hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage that Greg Feynman has accumulated on his investigation into an hour and 45-minute movie, right? And Greg's already working on a second version, or not a second version, a part two, a continuation of the investigation. And I'm not going to give you any spoilers. I'm just going to tell you that it's coming soon, and we'll be bringing you Fitz Week. Also, I will be having, I'm not even going to talk about that one yet because it's too far away to tease, but let's just say it ties into the origins. I'll be talking with someone, not the person themselves, but I will be talking to someone who's done a lot of research and, has some knowledge about shapeshifters as well. So that's on the docket of like, hey, let's make this happen. I'll keep you posted, when that happens, obviously. And, I'm super excited to potentially be bringing you that chat. But, there's a lot of good stuff going on. What I have here is I have Skinwalkers at the Pentagon right next to me, which is, a classic. I'm rereading this book. And I got to tell you, rereading it, it kind of reads like George Knapp clearly was the one who wrote the book, if I had to guess. He's a journalist and has the experience with that. And I've talked about this briefly before, but the way he talks about the people involved, it's like he's writing it to become a movie later, right? He talks about Lou Elizondo being, jet black hair and dapper, uh, you know, a superstar at counterintelligence and things like that. And little did we know he'd become a star of the disclosure. It's like a star of the disclosure. Like, what are we talking? Why are we using that kind of language when it comes to disclosure? That the kind of language we're using? Um, I remember at the very beginnings of this show when it was me and Paranormal You, I reached out to George Knapp and I was like, I'd love to have you on my show. And he said, I don't do interviews and I don't talk about that stuff anymore. Um, that changed later on, clearly. Um, and he probably got a million requests from people he's never heard of, like me, asking to do their podcast. I mean, this was 13 years ago, so probably not as many now as he gets. But if you haven't read Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, James Lukatsky, Colm Kelleher, and George Knapp, they're the authors. Highly recommended, especially with the disclosure that is very slowly happening in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years now, 9 years almost, or I guess we're going on. I can't believe it's been that long since the 2017 stuff. But and you can see that a lot of this has already been out. This isn't there, there's nothing new after school over here with a lot of this stuff. That doesn't mean that there's not some cool stuff that comes out, like a few years ago when the crash retrieval program was disclosed. More whistleblowers come forth, and these whistleblowers are actually putting a lot on the line and coming forward. And I don't think we can be grateful enough to the whistleblowers who are talking about it. And a lot of them have been through extremely traumatic experiences. And we've talked about, trauma associated with spontaneous paranormal experiences on this program a lot because I experienced that. Many other people, the late and wonderful Claudia Ackley, who came on the show many years ago to talk about the Bigfoot experience with her daughters in Lake Arrowhead and the trauma associated with that. And the list goes on and on and on. And so we can't be grateful enough about that. It's hard to keep track of everything, even for somebody who's super into it, right? I mean, because you have a life, you have other things you're trying to do. And it's like, how do you keep organized? How do you wrap your brain around the missing scientists? Everybody wants to talk about the missing scientists. Yes. And we've talked about Amy Eskridge on this program. Oh, I don't know, probably a year ago, we were talking about the crazy, quote unquote suicide of Amy Eskridge. The internet finally pieced her into this puzzle. It was pretty late in the game of the missing scientist, but they had to go back. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. And what about Amy Eskridge? Tragic story. And, it's dicey. You hear stories that you don't know whether you believe them or not sometimes. They're second, third hand about intimidation tactics, about all kinds of things. There's always the people who are like, I can't talk about this, NDAs. They sign NDAs and things like that. I've never been in this business. I didn't start this podcast many years, ago to ever be a guy who had insider government contacts or had a deep throat character that I knew or something like that. I just wanted to better understand my own experiences. And I feel like I'm getting there. It's been a long journey, but I feel like we're kind of like trying to figure this all out together. And who knows, next week, disclosure could happen of a huge magnitude where we understand the interdimensional nature of our reality and these creatures popping in and out of our dimension and things like that. And they skip the whole aliens are on UFOs to aliens are interdimensional, UFOs are interdimensional, blah, 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 blah. Everything we know about reality is actually a very milquetoast basic version and only one version of what is actually the experience of consciousness and being alive. Now, it's all very fascinating. It's endlessly fascinating. And I think more and more people, rightfully so, are becoming hyper interested I'm using hyper as today. That seems to be a thing I'm doing. Maybe because I drank a Celsius water. Is that it? Is it because I'm all jacked and juiced? I want to read you the Amy Eskridge thing, because I refound it in my notes the other day on my phone, um, and it's definitely worth repeating here. I'm gonna find it. Don't worry. I know this is not good radio, um, as they say. I've got so many notes on my phone. It's kind of crazy. Um, what's this one? Everyone knows the best place to hide a dead body is on top of the kitchen cabinets. When's the last time anyone looked or felt past the weird lip on the top? Not since they installed them. A body could decompose entirely up there, and you just think it was dust. Yeah, you just have to get one of those plugins probably, because those smell worse than a dead body. You could actually argue. Oh yeah, fake muse. Yeah, that's what you call um, like a spiritual person who's a grifter. Ah, fake news. You just say that. Um, okay, I'm giving away gold here. Don't steal these from me. Um, oh, Robert Monroe says that archangels are, or archetypes are, um, who help us are past life versions of ourselves. Yeah, that was a big spoiler. I apologize. Um, where is it? Sorry, sentient plasmoids. Oh shit, that's right. Um, there's like this big scientific paper you got to read about that. It's fucking bonkers. I think I've talked about it a little bit on here. See, this is I want to interview the ghost of James Randi, and his ghost still denies life after death. That's actually a funny skit. We'll do that here on the program. We're gonna do that. I'm gonna get the ghost of James Randi on the show, and we're gonna interview him. Oh, I got to remember this. I mean, luckily it's on here. Eight Forces of Nature, found it. So what's the date of this? Yeah, so February 3rd, 2025. So over a year ago. So this must have been, so if you're interested in some of the information uh that I was made hip to through a friend of mine, regarding Amy Eskridge, the brilliant scientist who had said, if I ever commit suicide, know that I was murdered. And then she, spoiler, committed suicide allegedly. This is from a Zoom call that was out on the internet that was never supposed to go out on the internet, right? And then after her death was posted, she talks about how there are actually eight forces of nature. And I'm going to tell you this now so you don't get mad at me. She only gets through the first seven. She doesn't get the last one because one of the guys on the Zoom call just keeps talking over her and interrupting. It is one of the most maddening things you'll ever see in your life. And so she never gets the eighth one out, right? But I think you will find very interesting the seven, right? Okay, so gravity, we all know. And I'm pretty sure everyone thinks there's like four. I think they kind of, the basic assumption is I think there's four forces of nature. I could Google it right now or whatever. I'm not going to do that. But it's not eight. Okay, it's not eight. The eight forces of nature, gravity, right? You've probably heard these. These will sound familiar to you, even if you don't know exactly what they are. And I think you have a basic understanding of at least what we believe gravity to be, even though that could probably change once disclosure comes. Who knows, right? So gravity is number one. Number two, the weak force, like WEAK force, the weak force. That's number two. Number three, electromagnetic force. You know about magnets. That's I ask ICP. If you don't know what magnets are, look up the ICP song, the Insane Clown Posse song. It's like magnets. How do they work? Number four, the strong nuclear force. Number five, Higgs force. Number six, anti-gravity. Number seven, energy into matter into energy. Parentheses, portals. And we never hear number eight, which is just maddening to me. I think it's probably something about thought manifestation. Probably the force of nature that is consciousness manifestation into reality through thought is my best guess. That's my best guess. I'm biased because I'm such an idealist kind of guy. energy into matter, into energy, portals is what she said. Or basically portals. I think that's me paraphrasing from what I remember her saying. She's like energy into matter, into energy, basically portals. And everyone's like, oh, portals, crazy. You're talking about portals. It's like, well, no, we have one of the most brilliant scientists talking about how it's a basic force of nature. Portals, energy into matter, into energy. Isn't that really, really cool? And number 8, oh, I got to tell you, it's my white whale. That and the Columbo card from the Cops trading card series from the Dutch company. If you follow me on Instagram, you know my buddy Dave Waite and I have been we call it a tactile wax. We've been ripping cards, packs of cards, like obscure, like or just random cards, not necessarily sports cards. It's every once in a while it's sports cards, but we mostly focus on non-sports cards. And we can't get a Columbo card, and it's like I love Columbo so much. Just one more thing. You think you're ever going to rip my card? Okay, Columbo, you don't have to come in right now. Now, what I have here, we're gonna come back and I'm gonna talk about this maybe a little bit. We're gonna do another break, and I have no idea how long I've been talking, but let's do one more break. I've got a lot on my mind after taking a month off, as you can tell, as you can hear. Glad to be back on the mic with you. I hope your life has been going okay, and we've got summertime. Summertime is upon us, even though it's like super cold here in Los Angeles, and I'm complaining like a weak-skinned person because it was 68 degrees, and I'm like, this is too cold for me because I'm a lizard. You know that. We're going to be right back. Patreon.com/Ryan Singer. $3 a month. No commercials. Wouldn't that be grand? Wouldn't that be wonderful? We'll be right back. And I'm back. I hope you're back as well. So let me readjust. Sometimes I forget to take out my earrings, and these headphones are just like brutal on the earring because they'll poke into your. I don't know how other people do it. But in the nature of disclosure, I'm always talking about disclosure, right? So how about I disclose some things to you about some things I'm working on? Fits will be coming out on Tubi soon. We're going to have Fits Week to celebrate that. I've got other things. I got a couple books I'm reading, and so I'm going to do my damnedest to get those authors on the program, but I want to make sure I have their book read so I can take some notes and really have an informed, fun, interesting conversation with them about all the hard work and the research that they've done before I try to do that. But oh my gosh, I'm so excited about some of them, okay? And the potential, because I'll tell you this, most people, they really want to promote their books and their work and things like that. So most people are really, really cool when you reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm not a total maniac. Would you come on the show? Usually they're like, okay, we'll do this. And we usually, every time, have a great time. Because the key to having an enjoyable podcast, in my opinion, is having people that are smarter and more interesting than you on the program a lot. And you just kind of shine a light on them and let them do all the heavy lifting. Okay. But so I'm working on the next documentary as we speak. It has consumed me. This like paranormal stuff is slowly consuming my life, more and more day by day. About the Florida investigation that I have talked ad nauseum about. But what I want to show you is how exciting and interesting this is. What I have, this is like a comedy production. I didn't even try to do that. They just flew away from me. These are 2 pages. I got 2 pages here of, this is evidence timeline for Portal Creek trips. So what that means is I have gone through all of the footage from 2019 through 2026. And I've organized all the footage. So the heavy lifting on this, at least one aspect of the heavy lifting is done. And now it's piecing the story together, which already has begun. This is I went through all the footage and I identified what I believe to be and what I believe we have in some form or another at the very least, discussion about, and if not actual video, photo, audio evidence of, in some form or another, or at least what we believed in the moment, because a lot of it was happening at night, so it'd be pretty dark, of the evidence that we've accumulated over those years and all of these trips to Portal Creek, as we're calling the location. And it's 2 pages worth. So it's like, as you can see here, it's 2 pages worth. So that is super exciting. This movie is not going to be 2 hours long. I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that the documentary is not longer than 2 hours long. Okay. Now, having said that, obviously all of this evidence will not be in the film, because at its heart, it's not a paranormal investigation, what this documentary will be. At the heart of it, it's a human story. And it's a story about the people who live there and their lives. And all of this evidence that's in this timeline has been the attempt to accumulate or capture or accrue, find, whatever you want to call it, this evidence of paranormal, of strange, of weird happenings, creature, UFO, portal, otherwise, is only an attempt to validate the experiences of the people who already live there, and to try and show and give evidence to the skeptical person who doesn't think these things are real and doesn't believe the story, or doesn't believe the firsthand accounts of the experiences. And as we all know, there are few things in life worse than sharing something deeply personal, sharing something traumatic, and not being believed. That's a hard thing to endure. And we as a team have done our darndest as a bunch of misfits to try to accumulate and gather evidence to help show that this story is more real than what most people would consider to be the real world, right? And layered in upon that is the backdrop of the world's events. We're talking about disclosure. We're talking about, all these Bigfoot sightings that are happening now. We're talking about parapsychology and, the beginnings of that research and the advancements in that research, and what does that research over the last 150 plus years, or whatever it's been now, 100, close to 150 maybe, late 19th century. I think it was when it was really started to kick off in like a clinical fashion, or at least when the debates began between, the forever consciousnessers and, there's this great book called The Elusive Science. And, it goes through the history of parapsychology and in the beginnings of it. And, it talks about the different, the formative players in the game. And unfortunately, Charles Richet, who was a Nobel Prize winning scientist, was super, super into parapsychology. And unfortunately, he was also a eugenicist, Nazi racist scumbag, who believed that white people were superior to black people for sure, and to other races, I just assume as well. So he's one of the like most prominent early characters in this, and he was in no uncertain terms, he was a fucking idiot. Okay, to think that way. So unfortunately, you have to parse through a lot of white people bullshit when you go through history, and whether it's in sciences and things like that. It's kind of maddening, actually. Charles Richet, that's the guy's name, who's the just a monumental idiot, considering how allegedly brilliant he was, right? He did, however, a lot of research in anaphylactics So like the allergy medicine you're using today, I believe, I think maybe that's not too big of a jump for me uh, to make that connection. Um, some of the research he did. I mean, he wasn't the only person doing, that kind of work. But anyway, you got to parse through these idiots. And we've dealt with this before in one of the books. I forget which book it was, but it's just like some of these people are just such clowns when it comes to certain things. But anyway, I'm going to give you a little taste of the evidential timeline for Portal Creek from 2019 through 2026. Just read you a couple off of here because how excited I am. And this is what we're looking for. And this is evidence and some people might say, well, that's not, you don't have that evidence really. And it's like, okay, well, okay, sure. I mean, we got a big footprint that we casted. We have a giant X structure on the adjacent property that we've captured footage of that seems really, really wild and crazy. Someone heard a growl moving a chair. Someone saw orbs and then lost time. This is stuff that I have on camera and we've talked about. We have someone who, after a CE5, potentially had a healing occur, like a major healing occur at the property. And I've got that on camera, not the actual healing itself, but the story and the firsthand account of that. We've got EMF devices going off on command or seemingly direct response to questions. We've got EMF meters going off where they shouldn't be going off, picking up energy of some kind that we believe is very purposeful. Lights, more footprints. We've got footprints in the snow after a huge snowstorm in Florida where there shouldn't have been footprints and they were large and they've been measured and we have photos of that. We have, wolf prints on a drive. There shouldn't be wolf prints on this property. We've got gifts that have shown up inside the house, seemingly from nowhere. We've had, psychic connections or connections of the mind and consciousness through researchers. Me using the Muse device, which measures brain waves, doing a gateway voyage meditation, and Dr. Foster at the same time. And this is filmed, knowing exactly what I was going through on a guided meditation when there's no way she would have known that. And like I said, a lot of this probably won't even make the film, won't even make the movie. We've captured lights, anomalous lights on security cameras from a portal area multiple times. We've eyewitness accounts of strange creature sightings from multiple researchers. We've had family members have scary experiences with a seemingly large creature or animal coming towards them making loud noises. I've had an experience down there being screamed at vocally that sent me into a tailspin and wrecked my life for a while. We've got video and footage of eye shine on multiple occasions. We have ITC devices that are giving us intelligent responses to specific questions. And we've got that on camera. And all this is going to just, hopefully, if I can do my job, present this film in a way that shows this is what these people have been experiencing. They're not crazy. This is what happens at Portal Creek. An investigation into the unknown. So, yeah, we're going to get back to bringing you some interviews, probably next week, depending on when I put this one up. So, yeah, I hope you're well. I hope you're doing okay. Summer is upon us. I hope you can get some sun, get some vitamin D, take care of yourself, drink water, love yourself. You're the only one who can guarantee that you're going to, I got to say, that was, wow. I'm allergic to telling people to drink water. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I love you. I hope you love yourself. I hope your summer is going to be grand. I am going to be embarking on an epic summer. I'm so excited. My partner and I are going to be traveling. We're going to be experiencing, doing some shows. Who knows what else is going to happen? It's going to be epic. And I'm super excited. And I will be turning 50 this summer. And I tell you what, my 50s are going to be bonkers. My 50s are going to be the best years of my life up until now. Or my life is only going to, the 50s are going to be better than the 40s, and the 40s are hopefully better than the 30s and 20s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I can't wait till my 50s. My 50s are here upon us almost. And I got to tell you, I'm not running and hiding from being 50. I'm going to be 50 and living. You know what I'm saying? I love it. I love it. And I hope you're comfortable with yourself too. You should be. Because here's the good news. You're getting older because you haven't died. And that's awesome. Stay with us. Even though you never really die, it's all physical form and consciousness goes on forever. We know that. But hey, we like having this version of you here with us right now. So let's all hang out a little bit longer. Please. Please. I'm going to do my best to do that. I'm going to do my best. So just remember, it's more fun to believe. We're going to get through all of this garbage that might be happening in our lives. We're all going to rise above it, and we're going to get better, and we're going to do better, and we're going to be better. And I'm going to be better at getting this film finished. And I'll, I don't know. I'm still going to have milkshakes. I was going to say I'll be better at not eating so much sugar. And I'm like, why would I do that? It's summertime. Summertime is it's the age of shakes. The age of milkshakes are upon us. Did I watch the extended versions of Lord of the Rings? Yes, I did recently. That's 12 hours I'll never get back, and I'm happy about it, actually. And it's the age of shakes is upon us. Go get yourself a milkshake. You can get lactose-free. Treat yourself. You can get sugar-free and lactose-free. Treat yourself to some kindness with a milkshake. Okay. Yeah. And I don't know. It's getting late. Although it's never too late out here on the astral plane. Thank you for taking another voyage. And RyanSingerComedy.com. That's the website. And yeah, and we'll look forward to doing this again and seeing you soon. Thanks for being here.